Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Simply Violin. This is the early September and school is starting, and I thought that since there's going to be this whole wave of new students who are going to be looking forward to college, and more specifically music school, whether it be universities with great music programs or more specifically conservatories, I thought that it might be interesting to kind of go over the do's and don'ts of both applying to music school and being part of that kind of environment. Things that I learned over my 6 or 7 years of being in that environment, and things that I kind of wish somebody would have mentioned to me, or things that people did mention to me but I didn't really pay such close attention to. So I came up with a list. I wrote it down, and I have 5 do's and 5 don'ts, and I also have 1 bonus for each. It was actually really difficult to narrow it down, and I'm sure I left some things out. But let's just jump right in. So I'm going to start off with the 5 do's that I came up with. Number 1 is make sure to over-prepare. Auditions are probably one of the most stressful experiences that you're going to go through, and no matter how ready you are, there's really no way to be too ready. And this entails many things. The first thing that I want to mention is, although the audition itself is going to be about 10 minutes, if that, the repertoire that you have to prepare is quite vast, and you're going to be tempted to try and guess what are they going to listen to, so I can just prepare that. The first part of this sonata, the first part of this concerto, and just try to save yourself some time. I would strongly advise against that for a number of reasons. You might guess right, you might guess wrong, and you don't want to be that person who gets on the stage and then is caught off guard when the jury asks for something that you didn't prepare. The other thing, and more importantly, is that it affects you psychologically. You can feel really confident until 10 minutes before you go on stage, and then suddenly all of these little thoughts start to creep in. Did I really do everything that I could to prepare for this? And if there's this one little insecurity where you think to yourself, well, I didn't really prepare the entire first movement, what if they ask for that? That could really throw you psychologically. And as stressful as this environment is, you don't want to add to that. So prepare everything. Prepare the whole program. The other thing that I want to say is make sure to know all of your application deadlines. Many of us suffer from this sort of self-sabotage syndrome, where there's ever this very important situation or stressful situation that's coming up. We subconsciously try to find ways to take ourselves out of that situation. Of course, it's not on purpose because we really want those things, but it's subconscious. So you really don't want to give yourself that opportunity to kind of self-sabotage. Make sure you know all the deadlines for both the audition round and for your for the recording round. Usually that's early December 1st or so. And make sure to have all your materials ready well in advance. Don't be that person who saves all the difficult stuff to the last second, because you don't want to get stuck with a recording engineer who doesn't have that much time, and then suddenly you're late. And you're writing emails begging for them to accept it, and then you get this response that says, sorry, we have hundreds of applicants who managed to submit their stuff on time, and then you're going to feel really dumb. So make sure to have all of your audition repertoire ready and recorded several weeks in advance so that you can submit it and don't think about it anymore. Don't wait until the last second, because usually the quality suffers. And talking about the recordings, make sure that you present a high quality recording, both audio and video. It has to do again with that whole psychological thing. Don't assume that it's good enough, because most universities and most conservatories have many applicants, and of course they have limited amount of time for the live rounds. And so they're going to be really nitpicking on who gets through to the live rounds. So don't give them an excuse or a reason not to pass you through. Make sure you kind of invest a little bit of money into high quality engineer, high quality recording equipment. And if you need a video, go to a studio, rent an hour or 2 hours in a studio. If anything, it'll encourage you and sort of motivate you to prepare the music itself, because now you're paying for it. So don't be nonchalant about that, about the recording round. And the other thing that has to do with over preparation is make sure you really learn your music well in advance and run the music under stressful circumstances. Set up performances for yourself in retirement homes. Ask family and friends to show up. If you study in a private studio where you have studio classes, play as many times as you can. Just keep running it, because the more you do it, the more you test your nerves, the more confident you'll be when that audition comes up. And the other thing is, try mock auditions. This idea of putting yourself into an audition type scenario, because it's possible that some of you who are applying for these schools have never really been in a live audition. It's a really weird environment that's not like a performance at all. It might be in a concert stage, but it's, you walk in and usually the hall is dark, but there's this panel of judges. Usually it's the faculty of the university, and they just start calling out things from this abyss, and there's no feedback. Usually there's no there's no audience clapping, there's no energy, which is so important in a live performance. And a lot of times they'll stop you halfway, they'll ask you for something random, and that can throw you, and you don't want to be surprised by that. So set up a fake panel and tell them, okay, after I play for like 5 minutes, stop me and then ask for something random. Test yourself. And you'd be surprised how much that helps. I mean, I've been through many auditions, good and bad, and the good experiences usually are preceded by this type of preparation. So I can't emphasize enough, over prepare. Make sure you've done as much as you possibly could in order to get ready for that audition. All right, number 2 in the do column. Make sure you pick a program that represents you in the best light in terms of where you are right now in your development. You need to understand the mentality of what the judges or the faculty members are looking for. They're not looking for finished products. They're looking for musicians who have talent and who have potential, something that can be molded, something that can be worked with. Don't put a program together because you think it looks good on paper. Make sure you pick a program that you can play really well. I guarantee you that the judges of the audition panel would much rather hear, let's say, a violinist perform Mozart Third Concerto, I guess, which can be considered one of the easier concertos, although Mozart is really difficult, but never mind. But I'm sure they would prefer to hear a great performance of a Mozart concerto than a sloppy kind of halfway performance of a Brahms concerto, which may be considered to be more difficult. So make sure you pick your program wisely. Make sure you present yourself in the best possible light, because that's what they're looking for. If you have a great sound and a great musical instinct, try to pick pieces that emphasize that. Don't pick Paganini concerto if your technique at that point in time is not your strong suit. Pick something that's a little bit more lyrical. Okay, number 3, know what you need and what you want as a player today. I don't think there's a more important time to be sort of self-analytical as a player than when you're selecting which schools or which teachers to go study with. So it's really important for you to know what you're good at and what you're hoping to become better at, in terms of, if you feel like you need a lot of technique. So pursue teachers who are good at that, who are especially good at that. Of course, most great teachers in higher learning institutions are good at everything, but there are people who specialize in things. So look for those people. Like in my case, just to give you an example, when I went to Manhattan School of Music for my bachelor degree, I was looking to be organized, to become more organized as a player so that I could raise the level of my consistency in performance. I wasn't happy with how my level was jumping up and down so erratically in performances. And so, when I went to Pinko Zuckerman and Patty Kopek, that was exactly what I needed. They're great at organizing everything, making sure that you're always in the right part of the bow, that your fingerings make sense, that everything is really, really well set up. That's exactly what I needed. Of course, they're great at everything else, but they're especially good at that. And then when I decided to go to Juilliard for my master's, I ended up with Itzhak Perlman, who was amazing at kind of opening my musical capabilities. One of the things that sort of gets lost when you're really technical about your playing is that you become kind of closed up, because when you really analyze everything that you're doing, it's kind of a straitjacket, which is, I think, necessary for players at a certain point. But when I was ready to do my master's and the question was, where do I go? Do I stay at MSM or do I go somewhere else? I decided that I need to study with somebody who's gonna sort of free me up. And Itzhak Perlman is amazing at that. He's all about the effectiveness of the player on the stage from the perspective of the audience. I mean, he's been on the stage for over 50 years now, and he knows maybe better than anybody like what to do as a player, because people from the audience don't necessarily know every little microscopic detail. Although you as a player should work on that, there comes a point when you have to learn how to let go. And that's exactly what I needed. So I really went for teachers that could give me that. And that's exactly what you should do. And furthermore, not just about what you as a player may want, but possibly what you're kind of anticipating, what you enjoy in terms of career. Do you prefer orchestral playing? Do you prefer chamber music? Are you trying to become a soloist? Different teachers and different school programs emphasize those things. Again, Manhattan School of Music has an incredible orchestral studies program that really focuses on that. You go through all the orchestral repertoire for the auditions. They train you how to audition properly. They teach you how to be a great orchestral player, because that's very different from chamber music or from being a soloist. If you think that, it's all about playing violin well, it's really not. There's so much IQ that needs to be learned when it comes to orchestral playing that isn't there if you're a soloist. In fact, most great soloists don't do well in orchestral auditions because they just go in and start playing loud, and that's not what most orchestras are looking for. Of course, that's really generalizing everything, but I think you understand what I'm saying. If you love orchestra playing, go after schools and after teachers who are experts at that. Go study with, concert masters. If you're into chamber music, go study with musicians who are in chamber ensembles, because they're all teaching. Everybody teaches. So don't just go somewhere, for the sake of it. Don't just, pick a name of a school and go for that because the school has a reputable name. That might work if you're trying to become a lawyer and you pick Harvard Law School. If you're a lawyer trying to get a law degree, you don't necessarily have the opportunity to go and try your professors at the school. So you kind of have to trust that the law degree from Harvard is going to be what you need to get the job that you want. But when you're graduating from music schools, the degree doesn't matter that much. It might open some doors, but ultimately it's how you play. The school's not going to save you once you're out of there if you don't play well. So don't just go for a name of a school. Go for specific teachers and specific programs. And another great thing that you can do, sort of as a subtopic of knowing what you need and what you want, another great thing that you should do is go and study, take lessons with prospective teachers. either go take private lessons with them wherever they are. Most of the time they'll be happy to give you a private lesson, a lot of times for free, and if not, it's still a worthy investment. You know, couple $100, it's worth it to know that you really click with somebody or that you don't click with somebody. Another great opportunity that you could take advantage of is to go to summer festivals. Most professors at universities also teach in the summer at different festivals. Go there, attend those festivals, and get to know these teachers. There are so many benefits of doing that. First, you get to know what teachers you respond well to, and maybe it'll even help guide you in terms of what you like to do and what you don't like to do. And secondly, these are the teachers that are going to be in that panel of judges. The main thing of their paper that they're filling out while you're playing, there's a checkbox at the bottom that says, would you teach this student? And if you get enough checks yes, then you get admitted. I mean, it may not be that simple. I've never been a judge, but I'm pretty sure that's kind of how it works. And if you can get a teacher who's really on your side, and you may not have like the best audition, because they already know you and they're kind of already accepted the idea of teaching you for the next 4 years, that could really help you get into a school despite maybe a less than audition. So definitely know what you need and what you want as a student, and pursue teachers and school programs that can give that to you. So number 4 is something that's very important, which is to make friends. You know, to be shy and to be kind of antisocial a little bit, and to, you know, stick to your academics and just do your job could work in high school. You can get away with it. But in college, it's very important to connect with your peers for many reasons. First of all, you know, you have lessons with your teachers once a week. Maybe twice a week, whereas you're constantly surrounded by your friends, especially if you live in the dorms. And many times when I had problems playing something or I needed help with something, I would go to one of my friends and I would ask them what they do, how they do it, because different things are difficult for different people. So building those relationships in school will be an incredible resource during school. The other reason that you really want to build connections and friends during school is because that's the future of the music world. Those people are going to go on to become, you know, all the professionals. They're going to become, you know, soloists. Some of them are going to become orchestral players who could potentially help you, you know, maybe get you into the auditions, or maybe connect you with the concertmaster or with the conductors. Some of them will become artistic directors of their own series and maybe can include you in their series. And the other reason that you really want to sort of develop that ability to connect with people and to be likable and to be social is because that's so crucial to success in the music world. So much of it isn't based on how you play, but rather, do people get along with you? Are you easy to get along with, or are you high maintenance and moody and kind of like awkward? You know, that really doesn't fly, especially in situations when there are orchestra members. You know, if you're fighting for tenure in an orchestra, so much of it has to do with your social abilities, and college is the perfect place to really groom that. Obviously, you know, use your better judgment. Don't let peer pressure guide you into negative situations, but definitely try to break out of your shell and to build relationships with all of these people. So it's very crucial. Make friends. And finally, number 5 on the to-do list is hunt grants. Okay, this is something that people did tell me to do, and I never really took it seriously, because when you're like 17, 18, you don't care about money. Money doesn't have any reality to you. You know, what's $50,000? I mean, it might as well be monopoly money at that point. And everybody gets school loans, right? Who, you know, you'll let future David worry about that. And believe me, present day David is so annoyed with past David, who didn't care at all about me. Now I have to be the one to worry about repaying this massive amount of student loans. And you know, college is so expensive, and believe it or not, there are many, many grants out there, private grants, government grants, and all it really takes is just digging. Don't be lazy about it. Pursue them. There are grants for general people. There are grants that are specified to kind of groups of people, like women, immigrants, different things like that. Take advantage. If you can mold yourself to be appropriate for a certain grant, do that. Be ruthless about it, because if you can raise $5,000, $1,000 here or there, believe me, it's going to help so much when it comes time to actually to start to repay those loans and those debts. Of course, there's no substitute for being in college. So if you have to take student loans, then that's what you have to do. But if you can find some grants here and there, raise some money, and not have to pay loans that have interest on them, that's very highly recommendable. And don't be lazy about it. Don't pretend like it's nothing. Just really, sit down, go to the library, talk to your financial aid advisor at the college, find advisors at your high school who could maybe direct you to some resources. Search online. I think there are even apps out there that you can download and sort of put different criteria in, and it pops out these grants that are possible for you, especially for music schools. There are organizations out there where you can audition and they can fund scholarships and things like that. So just go for it. Go for those grants. Making money as a professional musician isn't easy. They don't call it starving artists for nothing. So if you don't have to worry about school loans, that would be really great. So number 5 is hunt grants. Okay. And the bonus to do is probably actually the most important thing to try and do on your way to college is to stay positive. So much of your success as a musician, as an instrumentalist, and as a professional musician will depend on your positive attitude and your psychological state. Of course, staying positive is much easier said than done. Being a musician or being an artist is sort of this contradiction. You hear often that artists should have a thick skin, or in other words, artists should, not be so sensitive and not be affected by what happens to them from the exterior in terms of judgments and things like that. Because the truth is that artists, musicians are judged constantly, by our peers, by our teachers, or, even by, or the audience that hears us. And so it's very easy to try and develop this sort of desensitized state where your inner emotions aren't affected by those judgments. But the issue with that is that in order to be an effective artist, you have to be completely in tune with your emotions, and you have to be able to express those emotions openly and vulnerably to the audience so that they feel it. Otherwise, they don't feel it if you kind of just go through the motions. So it's very difficult to find this balance of being vulnerable and being sensitive, but not to let those the possible negative feedback to close you up. And then when you add this crazy environment of a university or a conservatory where you have so many different personalities and so many different influences sort of tugging at you, it can be very difficult to stay positive. But it should be part of your conscious effort. And the reason that I'm mentioning it is because I feel that so often people fall into these slumps and these negative places in their mind. A lot of it has to do with the fact that you simply don't talk about it. You think that because you feel that it's a sign of weakness and you try to hide it. And the reason that I'm bringing it up is to sort of voice the contrary. In fact, it's completely normal. Everybody goes through those sort of emotions, and just because someone looks confident doesn't mean that they don't feel insecure. Oftentimes, the people who act the most confident are the ones who are actually most insecure. So the first step towards remaining positive is to acknowledge that these feelings are normal and they will happen, and then the next step is to talk about them, discuss them with your family, call your parents and say, this is what happened, this is how I'm feeling sad, lonely, I'm feeling doubtful. And a lot of times just saying it out loud will take away the power of it. If you bottle it up and you kind of keep it inside for a long time, you sort of give it strength, because you make it seem like it's something to be ashamed of, and eventually it does come out in often very destructive ways. So talk to your family, also talk to the friends that you've made, if you followed the other to-do steps, because those are the people that you have around you constantly, and they're also the people who are going through exactly the same things that you're going through right now, so they understand. So you can be kind of positive influences on one another. So really go into it not being ashamed of, you know, possible sort of negative emotions. Let them out, vent, and then just move on and just try to remain positive and focused. And I think that this will really set you up for having a great constructive experience in college. So that's my to-do list, as well as the bonus. Stay tuned for the don't list, which is sort of the second part of this show. So if you have any comments regarding this list, if you think I've left things out, or if you like these things, leave a comment. You know, I'd love to hear what you think. Like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you at the next one. Thanks.